like this.
Stone boy.
Area.
Weaver.
Yeah, Ghana no be Jamaica. Fire burn the enemy, oh. Now I'm making the paper. Ojan show Babylon fool. Only young cause one day, oh yeah. But if you buy the Honda, every day, me gadget is a holiday. We do them every day, where they insane. Yeah, I'm Obi, I want a master. Obi, I need a master. But if you walk around, master.
It's 6 minutes to the top of the hour here on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM with Daniel Daze. I'm here with my friend Raymond Aqua. Thanks for staying with us. So we've already heard how the news broke yesterday. Mr. Boakye Agyarko is no more an energy minister. But today, like I said earlier, we will be going through Mr. Boakye Agyarko's tenure and really look at some of the highlights of what happened whilst he was energy minister. Raymond is here with me. He will help us go through all the facts that we have gathered so far. But Raymond, really all that happened with Mr. Agyarko did not just start with when he was a minister. Even before he became a minister and he was being vetted, there were some questions raised.
Two of them very critical ones. First, there was this question raised about his tenure at the New York Bank. You know, the bank has some difficulties, but he explained that these difficulties had nothing to do with him as vice president because it happened at a very far away branch somewhere else on a different continent, not where he was working, and had nothing to do with his leaving of the bank as of the time he left the place.
So let's hear that question. It was posed by Alhassan Sohini.
Yes. And
the response that Mr. Boakye Agyarko had to give.
Now, the Bank of New York is a very, very controversial bank. I'm sure you're aware. And I'll tell you why before I ask the question. In 2005, Mr. Chairman, no, it is not an opinion. Mr. Chairman, in 2005, the bank was made to pay to federal officers $38 million for engaging in money laundering. And this led to the prosecution of one of its vice presidents. And this was as a result of, money laundered to the tune of about $17 billion through hundreds of ways. It ended up in the prosecution of 9 people. This was the time that, per your CV, you were working there. 2007, the same bank, Russia, filed a $22.5 billion lawsuit against the bank for money laundering, which was settled for $14 million. And this also happened at the time that you were working there, per your CV, if it is correct that indeed you worked there. Now, in 2011, the Justice Department in New York filed civil suits against the bank, alleging a decade-old foreign currency fraud. Now the question is, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, I have tried earlier, but you go out on social media assaulting that I'm trying to prevent you from asking questions. That's why I'm indulging you. But this is clearly breaching our Rules Order 67. Can you please go on to your question? What has the bank's prosecution of others, not the candidate, not the nominee here, got to do with us?
Thank you. I'll ask the question now. Now, can you, based on this record of the bank that you worked with, at the time that you worked, can you kindly...
I guess I may also need to address an aspect of the question that you asked. That, yes, you said he's claiming that he worked at a particular location. If indeed he worked there, that seriously is questioning the integrity of the person. And unless you have evidence to prove that he didn't work there, you cannot phrase the question that way. Clearly very offensive. Colleague, and I was not here in the morning. I don't know what the chairman is talking about, but I will plead with you that in formulating and framing your questions, please be very careful and address your mind to our rules of procedure. With respect to you.
I hope you take a cue and please be advised. Go on.
Thank you. So the foundation still stands. And the question is, can you kindly briefly, tell us your work at the bank, how you were engaged, how you were discontinued, how you discontinued working with the bank, and perhaps later furnish us with the document that shows how you left the bank, so we can assure ourselves as a nation that you at no particular point in time played any role in these scandals that I have hinted at. Thank you.
Your question is overruled.
Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
Order. Please, if you want to answer the question relating to what role you did, answer.
The money laundering issues of 2007 and 2005 and 2007 happened in London, a totally different jurisdiction from New York, where I was. A totally different jurisdiction from where I was. If the honorable member would care to investigate the structure of the holding company, Bank of New York, New York, Bank of New York, London, Bank of New York, Brussels, Bank of New York, Mexico, don't have lateral relationships. We all report to the holding company of the Bank of New York, New York, New York. It beats my imagination, therefore, that a case that happened outside my jurisdiction and a case for which was investigated and specific individuals held accountable and prosecuted without my name ever being associated with the business becomes an issue. The question has no linkage. The question of the criminal prosecutions has no linkage to New York and my employment. So I am rather lost on why it's an issue.
That was quite an exchange during the vetting of Mr. Boakye Agyarko when he had to, of a sort, purge himself of the wrongdoings that went on within the group, the Bank of New York holding company. Those issues were raised by Alhassan Suhuyini, but those were not the most interesting parts of the vetting, because there was one particular question that had far-reaching consequences. Raymond.
Certainly, there was a standoff between himself and the Minority Chief Whip and Member of Parliament for Aswasi, Mohammed Mubarak Muntanka. The crux of the matter was simple. In one of his statements, which he did forward on behalf of the NPP as policy advisor, Mr. Agyarko had said that the government of the Republic of Ghana under John Dramani Mahama engaged in the procurement of 3 different floating storage regasification units, which were not in order, they were fraudulent, and they were corrupt, because we needed only one, according to a World Bank advice. He was then asked to provide this advice after a long discussion on whether or not this really happened in the first place.
So the bottom line was that he peeved members of now minority, when he referred to the former president as corrupt. And in being asked to substantiate this allegation, when he was asked to prove why the former president is corrupt, that is when he gave this answer of the FSRU.
Very good.
Listen.
The issue of having one FSRU was determined out of the Energy Ministry because there was an issue of stranded gas in the Western Enclave. Western Enclave produces more gas than it can presently use. It means that we have to ship the excess gas all the way to the Eastern Enclave, where there's a deficit. There are logistical and infrastructural problems currently. So the decision was made to bring in a regasification unit to fill the gap, whilst the tie-in and the reverse west-east flow was being engineered. That was a decision that was arrived at, and hence Ghana National GNPC, as the national gas aggregator, went into action and partnered Quantum to put that in place. We have now moved from where everybody was of the opinion that only one regasification unit was in play. Now we have 3 that have all have signatures on them. Now, suffice it to say that on the 21st,
Mr. Chairman, with the greatest respect, I mean, rationally, I should not be interjecting, but the question I asked is simple. As to why they bought 3, why they should have bought only 1, I said, you said that the advice was that only 1 is needed.
yes,
And then we went in for 3. And I asked, who advised that we should buy only 1?
a committee under the chairmanship of Energy Commission, which is the sole advisor to government.
No, but that, you see, please. I asked you, you came back again and said that it is when they had 3 that this committee was set up.
No, please. The question of procuring an FSRU to fill in the gap also had a technical committee deciding that. All in the same format. Energy.
So you just heard Mr. Boakye Agyarko speaking there with the Minority Chief Whip, Alhaji Mohammed Muntaka. The initial question was asked by Member of Parliament for Bodi, Sam Senehi. Why did you say Mr. Mahama was corrupt?
Yeah.
Then he gave the answer about the FSRUs, and then, usually leadership of the committee, the appointments committee, has the opportunity to ask as many questions as they want. Mr. Muntaka decided to get more clarification on that issue, and that resulted in that exchange we just heard. So, Raymond, after this answer, the committee, or specifically the minority side of the committee, demanded proof.
Yeah.
And that resulted in a very, very interesting issue.
Yes, the demand for proof was that he should come and show reasons why he believes the World Bank Committee or another committee had advised the president, then John Dramani Mahama, against the decision to procure 3 and actually go for 1 FRSU in the first place. Now, that conversation...
It's an FSRU.
FSRU, yes. That conversation extended to the point where then the minority said, no, we do not have any consensus on whether or not to pass Mr. Agyarko on this matter. Then, later on, the Member of Parliament for Bawku Central came out with the explosion. In fact, he first stated it on Radio Gold that the suspicion they've had is that they've been given 3,000 Ghana cedi. That 3,000 Ghana cedi, first he thought was the usual amount he had paid as committee members, but it isn't so. Apparently, what the man who spoke to Agyarko about the FRSU, FSRU,
Floating Storage Regasification Unit.
Very good. FSRU, the man who spoke to him about it, told him that the chairman of the committee says they should say 3,000 so they can approve, so that they can approve Mr. Agyarko. That was a very thorny matter. It ended up in the committee.
So let's hear that initial allegation by Mahama Ayarga.
The question is that we've been asked to establish whether First Deputy Speaker Joseph Osei-Osu took money from the Minister for Energy, Honorable Boakye Agyarko, and gave it to the Majority Chief Whip, Honorable Mubarak Mohammed Muntaka. What do you say about that?
Mr. Chairman, I think this started on the 27th of January, on a Friday, and Radio Gold, I think online and also during their news, put out some breaking news and indicated in that news publication that it is alleged that Honorable Boakye Ejiako had brought money to the appointments committee, and that money had been rejected by members of the minority. And this was in the news in the afternoon, and it was circulating on social media. And then I received a call from the radio station saying that they have this news and they want to interview me as a member of the appointments committee, whether or not I knew anything about the news that they had put out already. So I obliged them, and at 5 o'clock when they called me, they asked me what I knew about it, and I did confirm to them that yes, it's true. I'm a member of the appointments committee on the minority side, and that I had been asked by my whip to come for some money in the office. I had gone.
Who is your whip, please?
Honorable Muntaka Mubarak. And I had gone to take the money from his office. And then subsequently, there were rumors that the money had come from Boakye Ejiako, now Minister for Energy. And so we tried to find out.
Honourable Member, please, when you were absent, every time they referred to you without the Honourable, I stopped it. So please, formal reference to people.
Okay. Well, Honourable Boakye Ejiako.
Yeah.
And then we wanted some investigation to be conducted by our caucus. So we asked our minority whip, Honorable Muntaka, to go and find out. And he came back to us confirming that the money is said to have come from Honorable Boakye Ejiako.
So that was Mahama Ayariga. So this was him before the Jogate Committee, the committee that was set up by the Speaker of Parliament to look into these allegations that he made initially on various platforms. I remember, like you said, he initially spoke on Radio Gold, but he also spoke on Newsfile.
Yes.
After which, a few minutes after, Mr. Muntaka Mubarak denied the allegations. Now, very interesting statements coming out there. We'll take you to a few days before this statement was made before the committee, because when he was sworn in, remember, Mr. Ayariga said, now Honorable Boakye Ejiako, because at the time Mr. Ejiako had been sworn in. During the swearing in, Mr. Ejiako was, of course, asked about these allegations. This was his response.
I say without the fear of contradiction, I have not given a single soul a penny. Now, if anybody can cross their hearts and say that I have given them money, let them step forward. I say so that it is not true without the fear of contradiction. But I hope you heard what was said on the floor of Parliament. It is a fabrication because the allegation is that I said Mahama was corrupt. So they have to also smear me to say that I'm corrupt and I have no right to accuse Mahama of being corrupt. If that's how we want to do equalization fair, then we understand the rules. And then we start throwing mud at each other. I'm not afraid of mud. But if that's how we want to live our national lives, so be it. I don't believe it's the right way. But if a member of parliament is going to say, because of this, I will fabricate something against another person, so be it. We live with it.
Are you going the legal way?
Well, the lawyers are listening to the tapes, and they will advise.
Boakye Ejiako speaking there. Now, let's come back to the Jogate Committee. Of course, this was a 5-man committee set up by the Speaker of Parliament, Reverend Aaron Michael Quay, Professor Reverend Aaron Michael Quay, headed by the Member of Parliament for Iskadu Ketten, who is now Minister for Railway Development, Mr. Jogate. when Mr. Ejiako faced the committee, this was his official response to them.
Honorable Ejiako, I need to then ask you a few questions.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
But before I ask you the questions, our terms of reference, one of our terms of reference is that the first Deputy Speaker, Honorable Joseph Osei-Osu, took money from you, the Energy Minister, Honorable Boachi Ejiako, to be given and gave it to the Minority Chief Whip, Alhaji Mubarak Mohammed Muttaka. What do you say about this?
Mr. Chairman, to your question, I will state categorically without the fear of contradiction that I have never contrived, discussed, or given any money to the First Deputy Speaker, Honorable Joe Osei-Osu, for said purposes, namely to influence members of the committee to weigh a decision in my favor.
So that was Mr. Boachi Ejiako's response when he was officially asked at the committee. Let's move from that controversy because, of course, he was cleared by that particular committee. Remember, Mr. Ayariga made his famous apology on the floor of Parliament. If you want me to apologize, I will apologize. Those were his exact words when he was asked to apologize after Mr. Joe Ghartey presented the report. Let's move away from this issue of I've bribed somebody hasn't bribed anyone, and go to BOST, because a few months after he took office officially as Energy Minister, something happened.
Yes, in June that particular year, the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company, that BOST, had its own scandal. You do recall that it came under massive attack after it was revealed that it had sold contaminated oil to Movimpina, an unlicensed oil marketing company. The managing director of BOST then, Alfred Obeng Boateng, the ministry said they had set up a committee to investigate it. IOCO and National Security were apparently investigating to specifically national security. Now, Mr. Ejiako held a press conference and said that the MD of BOST was cleared of any wrongdoing in the release of this off-spec fuel on the market. According to the minister, the contamination of 5 million litres occurred before the assumption of office of Mr. Obeng.
Let's hear him.
It is not the case that the MD of BOST owns the company that bought the products. And 9, it is also not true that the address of or phone number of Movimpina is the same as that of the BOST MD. In the investigations carried out so far by the state security agencies and the MPA shows that on the basis of previous practice, there was no wrongdoing at BOST on the sale of the 5 million litres for the contaminated products. The ministry also refers to the statement by NPA, which was issued last week, assuring that the contaminated products have been fully accounted for and therefore have not been delivered to retail stations on the market.
So that is Mr. Boachi Ejiako clearing Mr. Alfred Obeng, who has now been sacked. Alfred Obeng was MD of BOST. You're still listening to the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. We are taking you through the tenure of Mr. Boachi Ejiako, who was the Energy Minister. We have taken you through the issues surrounding his vetting, where he was accused of attempting to bribe or bribing members of the committee, the Appointments Committee of Parliament, to approve him. And then we have brought you a sound from one of the controversies that bedeviled his tenure. That was the BOST contaminated fuel saga of last year. What we will do now is that we would take these important messages and then we will dive into the specific issues that led to his removal from office. What happened with Ameri? So this thing started all the way in 2015, 2014, thereabouts, when this government came to power. It held the bull by the horns and began investigating this power purchase agreement between Ghana and Ameri Energy. But what happened? How come there was a renegotiation? What were the terms of the renegotiation? What led to his sacking? Or did he really mislead the president as is being reported? We'll find out after this.
It's a new day. Are you ready? So my girls and I are finally going on our long-awaited trip. Everyone is excited, but I'm even more excited because my CalBank mobile app is the real deal. If it's about transferring funds, I'm sorted. If it's about paying my bills, we're sorted. With me changing my PIN, locking my card, enter airtime, set a standing order, and locate the nearest CalBank branch or ATM anywhere I find myself. Into trip way dear, chillin' in Kwan. I don't have to worry while I'm away because my CalBank mobile app has me.
Do more with your mobile phone or tablet. Think it forward, you're smart. Now get it trendy. Download the CalBank mobile app no free Google Play Store and our App Store Sisia and enjoy convenient banking anytime. CalBank.
Forward together.
CalBank. Forward together.
The other day, as I was in my kitchen preparing my special jollof made with lily rice for my family, I heard a knock at the door. It was my mechanic. Instead of calling me to pick my car, he brought it himself. I said, "Cho," he said, "F-O." I said, "Take the car back. I will come and pick it myself." As I turned off the fire from under the lily jollof, there was another knock at the door. It was my neighbor. I said, neighbor. He said, "F-O, my dog has jumped your wall again, oh." I said, "Don't be silly. You don't have a dog." My wife and kids came home and we saw that he enjoyed. So, it was my pastor. He said, "Bless you." I said, "Bless you too." He said, "Did he come to church on Saturday?" I said, "Acho, but why are you coming to tell me this on Wednesday?"
Having to fend off visitors at mealtimes because of Lele's tasty aromatic rice? Celebrate every mealtime by sharing with friends and family near or far. Lele. Tasty food, happy family.
Acho.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Food and Drugs Authority.
The Busia Institute for Rural and Democratic Development, BIRDD, and the entire Busia family invites you to the 40th anniversary lecture celebrating the legacy of Dr. Kofi Abrefa Busia, Tuesday, the 28th of August, 3 p.m. at the Accra International Conference Center. Come as we celebrate the life and values of Dr. Kofi Abrefa Busia. Special guest of honor, His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. The Busia Institute for Rural and Democratic Development, BIRDD, projects and protects the vision, works, and legacy of Dr. Kofi Abrefa Busia, which primarily had to do with rural development, democracy, and education. We entreat all who believe in the vision and values of Dr. Busia to participate in the 40th anniversary lecture. Remember, it's Tuesday, the 28th of August, 3 p.m. at the Accra International Conference Center. All are welcome.
Coffee in your cup and joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM.
KCB.
(22:08) on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. If you just joined us, you just missed quite a lot. We have been walking through the tenure of Mr. Boakye Jarko, from the controversy surrounding his vetting to the bust matters. Of course, we've made mention of a number of other things that have occurred whilst he was Energy Minister. Of course, the headline from last night is that he's no more Energy Minister. And as we promised you before we went on break, we will be taking you through the Ameri deal specific. Taking you from the beginning till now exactly what has happened with Ameri and why it's resulted in his being sacked. I am Daniel Dazi. Raymond Akwa is here with me, helping us go through all of that. But before Raymond comes in, the Busia Institute for Rural and Democratic Development, BIRDD, and the entire Busia family wish to invite the general public to the 40th anniversary lecture celebrating the legacy of Dr. Kofi Abrefa Busia. Join us on Tuesday, 28th August 2018 at 3 p.m. at the Accra International Conference Center as we celebrate the life of Dr. K.A. Busia and the values he stood for. The special guest of honor is His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Are you expecting money from your relations abroad? Have you ever been defrauded of your money remittance? Open an ADB account today. Send your name and account number to your relations abroad. Ask them to use MoneyGram direct to account service and receive your money in your account in minutes. With MoneyGram direct to account service, there is no PIN code wahala. You can access your money on all ATMs in Ghana or send this to any mobile money wallet using ADB mobile money banking app or star 767 hash. So it's the ADB mobile banking app or star 767 hash. Visit our Facebook website or call our hotline 0302 210 210 0302 210 210. Now, have you ever been to China? Would you like to go if I were footing the bill, providing accommodation, food and transport? Is that something you want? Really? What's your thing? Well, guess what? Stanbic and Joy FM, we want to know what your thing is, and let's see, who knows, we can help you do it. I, Daniel, have the privilege of taking 3 children to China from August 26 to September 2, 2018, thanks to Stanbic and Tianchen Cultural Development Corporation. It's that easy. All you need to do is tell the MD of Stanbic Bank what your thing is, what your dreams are, what you aspire to be, what you hope for, anything that is your thing. And this is how. Write or record a video or voice notes to the MD of Stanbic Bank telling him what your thing is. This contest is for children between the ages of 12 and 17. Deadline for submission is Tuesday, August 7. And this is how you take part. You take part by sending your written essay of not more than 100 words to hubn@stanbic.com.gh or any Stanbic Bank branch nationwide. Send your 5 minutes video or voice recording to WhatsApp number 020 50 500 54. 020 50 500 54. Parents or guardians, let's keep your wards busy this summer break. What's your thing? Do your thing. Stanbic Bank. This is another way we move you forward. So Raymond, let's come to the issues of Ameri, shall we? Where did this all begin?
In 2015, the $510 million deal was signed by the Mahama administration. Of course, it was very controversial at that time. Later on, a Norwegian newspaper published an investigative piece claiming it was overpriced and should have actually been worth $220 million. Now, in Chapter 3 of the NPP's manifesto, specifically page 39, the first mention of Ameri was done. It was called corrupt. It was called overpriced, needing immediate review. I mean, the NPP also promised that when it came to power, it would set up a committee that would scale it down and deal with all those involved in that particular matter.
And it did.
Yes, it did set up a committee when they took up power in 2017. Philip Patterson headed that committee. They reviewed and concluded that the deal was supposed to be $360 million US. Now, in July 2017, the police CID raided the homes of former Power Minister Dr. Kwabena Donkor and his deputy John Jinapor, and also seized the phone of former Deputy Attorney General Dominic Akuritinga Ayine.
Yes, Dominic Akuritinga Ayine.
Mm-hmm. Now, on 24th of July 2018, Energy Minister Boakye Agyarko laid before Parliament a reviewed Ameri deal. Now, before that, there was circulating a statement purported to be coming from the Justice Ministry, which had advised that any form of attempt to review or abrogate that particular deal was going to be improper since the deal was properly constituted, regardless of the overpricing issue that was raised. So, on the 24th of July 2018, Energy Minister Boakye Agyarko laid before Parliament a reviewed Ameri deal seeking approval. Now, a new firm from Greece, Mytilenius Trading Company, which is also the mother company of Metka, the grouping Ameri contracted to do the, agreement for and on behalf of itself.
You mean to provide the power plant?
Very good. So, the agreement was that the power plant itself was 350. The extra amount of money was going to Ameri for being the middle person or so, which we were told later on. Now, so that was, team was supposed to take over the plant from Ameri. They were to own it for 15 years, instead of the original 5 years that Ghana agreed with Ameri. Mr. Jaku claimed the deal will save the nation some $400 million US. Now, first opposition was the Africa Center for Energy Policy. ISEP disputed this claim. In fact, they said that given that half of the American contract has been executed, government will be paying a total of $1.375 billion US for the American power plant over the approximately 18 years instead of the original $510 million US. Now, other groups also came on board. I'm sure you've heard of the Institute of Energy Studies. You've also heard of VRA, which initially...
Energy security.
And energy security. And VRA, the VRH also complained previously. Then Parliament froze the approval processes for the deal. They were demanding documents. They wanted to know the Finance Ministry's approval. They wanted equally to know the Attorney General's department's advice on the matter and some other documents that was required. The minority in Parliament later on addressed a press conference and said that, no, Ghanaians should hold the President Akufo-Addo responsible because the deal was extremely bad and was squandered in a way, according to John Jinapo, to take money from the ordinary people of this country. Now, in a final push, you sure know that yesterday, even the staff of the VRA held a major press conference. What they decided to do was go for the minister. They insisted that the minister ought to be sacked because the deal and the claims the minister made for the deal were all wrong.
We have that sound here. But before we hear from the VRA workers,
yes,
at the height of the American controversy, if I can call it that, Deputy Information Minister Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah made quite an informed statement. Should I call it an informed statement?
Or very revealing statement.
Very revealing statement is the word I want to go for. Thank you. He said that this Ameri deal has not been concluded. And so it will be simplistic for us to say this is something government has agreed to do. I think this is one of the first points where we began to see cracks within government's resolve to carry out this deal. Let's listen to Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah.
Government is going through a process of reviewing a proposal that has been received. The proposal essentially is to novate and amend what you would call the old Ameri structure. It's been tabled before one of the arms of government, Parliament, currently. And as you are aware, Parliament is going through the process of validating the numbers that have been put before us. What I can tell you is that in the end, whatever will be done should and would be in the best interest of our country. I heard somebody make a comment on one of our media platforms that if indeed the administration was minded to railroad this through, with the numbers that we have in Parliament, by the time it arrived here, you would have seen it literally passed without much issue. But even in spite of the numbers, we are committed to ensuring that the process of government works smoothly. We're examining the data. Government acting through Parliament has not finished with the work. And in the end, when we are done, we'll update the nation on what is in the best interest. But I think we can relax and keep the views being expressed. I do know that people have seen the document and are expressing their views and are doing their own analysis. That's the essence of the democracy that we have. That's what the president talks about when he said that we should be citizens and not spectators. And in the end, the government would arrive at a final posture which will be communicated to all of us.
So that was Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah, Deputy Minister for Information. Very key revelation he made there. One of the first times that we realized that governments may not necessarily be in support of this particular renegotiation.
After the statesman has issued some other statements suggesting it may not come off.
Exactly.
Again, you do realize that Gabi Asoro Chidako gave other hints on his Facebook page, seeking among other things to say that some people's ambitions to be president or whichever position they want to be should not cloud the collective interest of the state and that of the government in position then.
Okay.
Then it was building up.
Yes. Let's come to another element of this. Another revelation that we had was that not everyone in government has signed up to this deal, as has been suggested in what Mr. Oppong-Nkrumah said and what Gabi Asoro Chidako put on his Facebook page. In deals of this nature, usually you find that the finance minister signs off, the attorney general signs off. Remember, the initial Ameri deal, one of the signatories was actually Deputy Attorney General Dominic Ayine. And of course, the finance ministry would give their go-ahead. And so, Paul Adomotri made a revelation on Newsfile that the Attorney General and the finance ministry was not consulted when this deal was being taken to Parliament. Listen.
My only concern is that I don't know why he sent the agreement to Parliament naked And when I say naked, it means that the agreement went to Parliament without the requisite attachments that ought to be. He says here, for instance, that he has done this work in consultation with certain departments, but he doesn't add any evidence of that to Parliament. That is where the curiosity begins. He says that during the renegotiations, the Ministry of Energy involved key stakeholders from the Ministry of Finance, the Office of the Attorney General, and the Minister for Justice, the Volta River Authority, and the Energy Commission, and external legal consultants. He says that in a memorandum, but the document that goes to Parliament, as Parliament has told us, didn't come with a Public Procurement Authority approval.
Was he not simply referring to the committee led by Philip Addison that looked into Ameri and came to the conclusion that we had a bad deal?
No, he refers to that committee separately.
150.
No, that's a much earlier committee. In this document that just went to Parliament on 25th July, he's talking about the various aspects of the work.
Okay.
But he doesn't attach.
What does the absence of that do?
Well, it makes the document naked before Parliament, and that's why regulatory and regularity issues were being questioned. First of all, it ought to have been a cabinet approval, not the executive thing that was done, which is okay in terms of legal context. But really, cabinet approval shows that more than one person has looked at it. Executive authority means that perhaps just the president has looked at it with a few other people. He may have looked at it with other people, but the document does not indicate evidence that other people have looked at it. But if it's a cabinet document, then you can assume that more people have looked at it. Legally, it's not illegal, it's not wrongdoing, but in terms of the context, it creates a bit of curiosity. And then he didn't have the Financial Services Management Act of Ghana. Requires that any bill that goes to Parliament that is going to have financial implications for the people of Ghana must have a Ministry of Finance opinion. That was also not available in the document that went to Parliament. And then, of course, ultimately, it's a law that a contract we're entering into. And so the Attorney General's legal opinion is a sine qua non for these things. That also was not there.
Sine qua non means prerequisite.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a prerequisite for these things. And so he didn't, that didn't happen. So it makes the document naked before Parliament, and it will be a reason why Parliament will not even consider it.
Okay.
My concern is that having expressed himself so brilliantly in his memorandum, in terms of articulating why this is important, I'm wondering why he didn't sort of obey the rules there. Let me come to...
So that was Paul Adomotri speaking to the involvement of some key ministries in this particular agreement. That's not all Paul had to say. There is a letter that circulated later. Let's listen to what Paul read from that letter on Newsfile.
So Ameri writes to the minister, said that we have recently been following the news circulating in the media houses about the agreement. And I jump. Ameri says, as you are fully aware, we have never been involved with your ministry in any kind of negotiations or discussion related to this novation and amendment agreement.
That's
Moreover,
serious.
That's very serious. I don't know whether this letter is out, but this letter
involved in any
never been involved. This letter is to the Honorable Minister Boakye Jarko and is dated July 31st and is signed by Meha Al-Alili, the CEO of Ameri. He says that as you are... Yes, he says, as you are fully aware, and that they are referring to news circulating on Ghanaian media, and they are telling the minister that as you are fully aware, we have never been involved with your ministry in any kind of negotiation or discussion related to this novation and amendment agreement. Moreover, also never had insight of any commercial discussion between you and any new party. Therefore, could not have verified that the above permissions were not obtained in the time of the presentation before Parliament. They are talking about the permission, Ministry of Finance, PRC, etc. In view of the ongoing circumstances, the management of Ameri has taken notice of this and would like to inform you that we shall not be deemed associated with the novation agreement and will only remain committed to the boot agreement signed on 20th February 2015. Upon completion of our 5-year term, your ministry can freely decide to do whatever they want to do with it. This is Ameri.
Really?
Wow. This is Ameri. I'll give to you, but this is Ameri.
This rather damning.
Well, this is Ameri. This is 31st July, writing to the minister.
Yes. And that comes subsequent to
this. So,
Boakye Jarko's presentation to Parliament.
It makes it serious. It makes it very, very serious. Well, we can subject it to the test. Yes, we have to. Yeah,
it has all the characters of an authentic document. Until proving otherwise, we'll take it.
Well, until proving otherwise, let's hold it and let's subject it.
Because it will be a huge blunder.
Well, it says that as you are fully aware.
Blunder,
so it's but allow me to say something. One second.
Do that quickly.
I think that the sounds of resistance that attach to the first Ameri agreement is the same that attach to this one, or even greater.
Yeah.
So that was Paul Adomotri throwing a little bombshell in there. And you also heard the voices of, let me name all of them. Ben Efson, Evans Mensah, Ifya Pokia, Samson Ladi himself, all expressing shock at this particular revelation.
Now, it was reaching a crescendo the call, the massive opposition, and everything that made this particular deal and its aftermath look very murky was reaching a crescendo.
That crescendo was tipped during that particular show, Newsfile on Saturday. A lot happened on Newsfile on Saturday, in fact. And Ben Efson, who is the editor of the Daily Dispatch newspaper, had this to say.
He must let Hess rule. The appointees who misled him, he must sack them. The influence peddlers who went around lying, he did appoint them. He must name and shame them.
You should sack Boakye Jarko. Boakye Jarko's competence is beyond doubt.
Yes.
Correct?
I was saying that anybody who told the president in chambers, the shame is on him to admit. He has admitted he's done well. If he decides not to sack anybody, name and shame all those who misled him, then he himself is part of it.
That was Ben Efson, but he was not the only one who wanted someone sacked. Listen to VRA workers speaking just a couple of days ago.
This cost makes the new renegotiated deal worse than the existing American deal. A bad business case, a very poor debt refinancing arrangement, no value for money consideration, and does not make business sense. Make no mistake, we think this deal is not in the best interest of the people of Ghana, but designed for a different purpose best known to the minister and his team. We think that by the current deal, the energy minister has exhibited financial recklessness with intent to assist a foreign company milk the state. This shows that the honorable minister is incompetent, lacks integrity, or absolutely not on top of his job. We therefore call on him to honorably resign immediately and save the government and this nation from further disgrace and embarrassment and time wasted. We plead with the president to sack him if he so honorably fails to what? Resign. Thank you.
So this was actually yesterday that the VRE workers called on Mr. Boakye Jarko to resign or be sacked, and then called on the president to sack him if he doesn't resign.
Moving right from the press conference around 2 p.m. to the studios of Joy at Zali, right on time for Top Story, and they were live here on Top Story, repeating the call. Then hours later, it happened.
As they happen, when they happen, where they happen. Joy 99.7 FM, your most reliable news source.
So news coming in from the Flagstaff House, and there's a statement that has been issued and signed by the Director of Communications, Eugene Ahing, and it reads, President Akufo-Addo relieves Minister for Energy of his position. And it states that's the headline for that statement. It states, the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has, by letter dated 6th August 2018, relieved the Minister for Energy, Mr. Boakye Jarko, of his position with immediate effect. President Akufo-Addo has asked Mr. Boakye Jarko to hand over his office to the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Mr. John Peter Amewu, who will act temporarily as the Minister for Energy until a substantive appointment is made. The President wishes Mr. Boakye Jarko well in his future endeavors. And this happened in the last few minutes. In fact, Mr. Boakye Jarko has been at the presidency all day together with his two deputy ministers. We reported that on Newsnight a short while ago, but this is a confirmation of a decision that the president has taken. If you're just joining us, a breaking news coming from the Jubilee House tonight is that the president has relieved, in fact, has sacked the energy minister.
That was Evans Mensah announcing the sacking of Mr. Boakye Jarko. And this is Eugene Ahing confirming this.
A few minutes ago, the president has relieved the Minister for Energy, Honorable Boakye Jarko, of his position as Minister for Energy. The statement that's coming from my office is indeed the case. Basically, we don't know the circumstances that have surrounded the Ameri deal. The president believes that considering the the nature of the information that has come out concerning the deal, he believes at this point in time it is in the best interest of the country, it is the best interest of the Ghanaian people, and also it is in the best interest of his administration that he leaves the Minister for Energy of his position at this particular moment. We would have the time to go into the final details that went into the president's decision, but as it stands now, we'll just have to say that in the interest of the Ghanaian people, in the interest of the country, in the interest of his own administration, the president has taken the decision to relieve the Minister for Energy of his position.
And so you're confirming that this has everything to do with the controversy surrounding the renegotiated Ameri Power Plant deal?
Absolutely, Evans. Absolutely. The president has made that clear to the former minister, and the former minister has accepted the president's decision.
So that's Eugene Ahin speaking with Evans Mensah last night on Joy FM. 15 minutes to the top of the hour here on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. We just took you through issues leading up to the sack of Mr. Boakye Ejiako. We'll take these important messages, but when we come back, we'll be hearing from communications consultants to the Energy Ministry, Nana Damwa, who himself has been speaking interestingly about this. He suggests in some of his Facebook posts that Mr. Ejiako is not the only one involved in this. Is this the case? We'll hear shortly.
There is a bank in town, solid and strong, giving you the service you desire. It's Commerce Savings and Loans. We give you financial security you deserve through our SISU account, church account, fixed account, kiddie account, and many more. Our duty loan for churches, asset finance, federal loans, and others have interest rates that are perfect for any pocket. At Commerce Savings and Loans, we make life convenient for you. Make payments on all mobile network, pay for DSTV, mobile money, TV license, and many others. Call us on 0302-767-827 or 667-783. Commerce Savings and Loans. We offer you a relationship beyond.
There are different kinds of laughter. The ones that sound like a machine gun. The ones that sound like a malfunctioning microphone. The ones that sound like an engine with heart attack. The ones that sound like hot banku which stuck in the throat. The ones that sound like they are trying to hold it in. The ones that sound like they have 30 billion in their account. The ones that start laughing in bass, then switch to tenor, alto, and end in soprano. Join the Laugh Cousin Fiesta with the best of African comedians at Glow Laughter Fest at Fantasy Dome, Pavilion F, Trade Fair Center, Accra, on 12th of August and 9th of September, featuring Basketmouth, Bovi, Salvador, Senator, Dan the Humorous, Chemical, Shay Law, Godons, Jacinta, DKB, and Foster Romanus. To gain entry, just dial *5301# and use 20 Ghana cedis on voice or 30 Ghana cedis on voice and data within 30 days. The first 5,000 entries will get guaranteed front row seats and personally signed autographs from their favorite stars. Glow Laughter Fest. Don't miss out.
The grandmasters of data. Glow Ghana.
What's your thing? Corporate guy, shirt and tie, heels and scarves? You got to meet those KPIs, buddy. Appraisal is coming up soon. Pressure! But as we say, because we go die, we no go sleep. What's your thing? Friday night out with the buddies or the ladies, bonding over drinks and gossips. Find you at Kiki Biso Corner. Kwesi Artist Grind Day blasting through the speakers. Dreaded Monday, couple of days away, no fears. Work hard, play hard. Hashtag Journey to the top. Let's do your thing. Stanbic Bank. Moving forward.
Welcome to Entrance University College of Health Sciences, the newest health university college here in Ghana, poised to add in value to the pharmaceutical industry in the country. Entrance was set up to meet the high demand for research and in-depth knowledge for pharmacy. We are accredited by the National Accreditation Board, affiliated with the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Students have the unique opportunity to a hands-on training with the Entrance University Hospital and the Entrance Pharmaceutical and Research Center. School start in September 2018.
Call us on
050-908-6631 or 050-908-6651. Enroll now. You can locate us at Opoigono off the Spintesh Road, Accra. Entrance University College of Health Sciences, your preferred choice for pharmaceutical and allied health training.
How are you doing, my brother? I'm having problems as an architect getting quality security products on the market. Asa Abloy is your one-stop shop for your needs. They have strong padlocks with double locking systems. They also have security doors, hydraulic door closers, hinges, and mechanical locks, pull handles for glass, wooden, and aluminium doors. Also in stock are the Yale Smart Home Alarm System. They have access control for offices, residents, and schools, hotel electronic locks, and safes. You can find Asa Abloy in Accra, adjacent MTN office on the 11th lane, Osu, Takrade, Kumasi, Tamale. You can reach Asa Abloy on 0302-778-029 or 050-133-9085 for further details.
Same great bank, helping you grow.
Do you have challenges transferring money to your friends or customers with accounts at other banks? Are you worried at the delays with other banks' checks you deposit into your account? Do you have challenges paying your workers or suppliers instantly across banks? You don't need to wait for 2 days anymore. Walk into any ADB branch today and send your money instantly to any account in Ghana, or link ADB Instant Pay to your accounting software for all salaries and payments. You can also access ADB Instant Pay service on our mobile banking app, internet banking, and star 767 hash. ADB, truly a Greek and more.
Hey, new phone, new TV. Why? New job, Anna?
Same double. Man, forget to say it be month of August inside we day. NTM Mumu, my Chadiana flow second stone.
Hey, you talk true.
Exciting things are happening with MTN Mumu. Anti-Koswa pump your MTN Mumu wallet. No. Fire payments, send money, shut our bills. Just do more on your MTN Mumu. For building more points. Now win the more. iPhone 10, Samsung S9 Plus, Samsung TV sets, and they up to 2,000 CDs e-cash. Who better free every month? And you're Chadia baby. 80 daily, star 120 hash for check points. Promo where you're locking it down till 31st October 2018. FAT. Uwinia promo code BIA. Untiashi. Asana wajo price. Uwinia number bako pair and a befrel. 0244 300 000. Now about Joe price our MTN office. MTN Enfa text message and Chadia. 80 Koswa. Just Momo it everywhere you go. MTN Momo. I is a coat. A channel. A Taribian ho. TNC supply.
Coffee in your cup and joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM. Joy 99.7 FM.
9 minutes to the top of the hour here on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. Just gone by was a detailed analysis of the tenure of Mr. Boakye Agyarko, some of the key events that occurred there, and particularly of the Ameri controversy that resulted in his being sacked. We'll get some analysis shortly. Still working the phone lines to speak with Nana Damwa, and President of Imani Africa, Franklin Kujo, will also be joining us shortly. But before that, the internet is like a highway for your business. Have you ever spent hours downloading your business files or missed a tight deadline because of your unreliable internet? Now that could be a potential opportunity out the window. With MTN Business, your business cruises on the most reliable, high-speed, secure, dedicated internet service in Ghana. Plus, we offer round-the-clock technical support customized just for your business needs. Enjoy premium internet access especially designed for your business today, everywhere you go. Visit mtn.com.gh/business or call 0244 308 111 for more information. Terms and conditions apply. Now connect from wherever you are on up to 4 mobile devices with DSTV Now app and a Vodafone Showtime bundle from only 1 Ghana cedi for the daily unlimited bundle. All you need to do is be an active DSTV subscriber, download the DSTV Now app and dial *900# to access the Vodafone Showtime bundles. Call 0302 740 540 for more information. Vodafone, the future is exciting. Ready? DSTV, feel every moment. Let me go on the phone line now and speak to Franklin Cudjoe, president of Imani Africa. Thank you very much for joining us, Franklin.
Good morning. Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I could be better, but thank God we are alive.
Yes, we are. Thank God indeed. In the first place, what's your impression of this move by President Akufo-Addo?
Well, I would say that it's a terribly sad one, especially when Mr. Jacko and his supporters had floated an idea, and I underline the word floated, an idea for scrutiny, for discussion, right? Mr. Jacko hasn't signed any deal yet, irrespective of the fact that we all backed at the fact that the Ameri deal was overblown by about $150 million. So it appears as if any move to extend it and actually make it look like a better deal, it's of course not on at all. So we disagreed with those analysis. But that's because in the spirit of decorum and the spirit of democracy, Mr. Jacko, I suspect, wanted this discussed, because otherwise he wouldn't have submitted the document to the presidency. And indeed, I suspect that the Attorney General at some point would have been involved anyway, because once the matter went to Parliament and the discussions were that some aspects of the bill had not been added, which is what Paul Adomachi was referring to, we can comfortably say that if the discussions had ensued and had been allowed, all these matters will come up in the public anyway. So I was actually grateful that there was even a suggestion of a discussion, so that not like a Kermit GVG that we never heard anything, was contracted in secret. The cabinet didn't see it, and somehow it got passed. I'll come to that matter later. But I'm just trying to suggest that I suspect that Jacko is not alone in this particular deal. And indeed, all the others who saw the innovation document and had the back and forth conversations must actually be answering questions as well, as some of your pundits in the studio have actually suggested as well. So for me, I think it's a big loss for the government. It's a big loss of President Nana personally. I know that because Jacko is held in a very high esteem. Even persons very close to the president have said that he is indeed held in high esteem.
Right.
So those would be my preliminary
your initial thoughts
around the sack. I think it's unfortunate.
I'll come to that point you made about the fact that it seems anyone who was involved in it should also be sacked and should also be sanctioned, if I can use that expression. And that's not really the question. It is curious about the issue of people who were involved, because here's a case where the finance minister, the attorney general were not consulted. This was taken to Parliament with executive approval. From a governor's perspective, is that how things are done?
Well, presumably, these same questions can be asked of the persons who signed the executive approval, right? I mean, these are crack lawyers. As you know, the document that was presented, even if you spend an hour, you could have read a 13 or so page document. And that would have alerted anybody trying to convince the president that this is indeed something useful to go by and give executive approval. That we should wait a bit, especially when it's a multi-million-dollar deal, right? So, look, yes, there were aspects of it that were, sounds offensive, as in not getting the buy-in of the finance ministry and indeed the attorney general. As I maintain, I think that is the only contract signed under this administration that it seemed to have checked those lists. But the point is that the executive
approval.
Secretary to the president, the executive approval must have come on the back of some convincing, which means that 3 or 4 people actually agreed that this is the way to go. Fact of the matter is that nullifies whatever conversations or approvals that were supposed to have been sought for by the ministry, from the Ministry of Finance and Attorney General, because I would have suspected that those conversations would have been had by the person who actually signed this letter, the executive approval on behalf of the president. I don't think the executive secretary would have just taken the word of the energy ministry and then just suggest that because the energy ministry has told us that this is the deal, we wouldn't have to talk to the attorney general. I think that would be very, very wrong.
All right.
And as I've maintained, I know you want to talk to other persons. I find this very, very, very unfortunate because, one, the point has to be overwhelmingly made that, look, Mr. Jacko, in everything else, was making a suggestion of what should have happened. And he wanted the scrutiny of the deal.
Okay.
Unlike, let me land. Because you see, I think it's a ball that we need to expose these kinds of double standards. Because in the case of...
Mr. Kujo, this conversation is not over with you, yes. So I'll allow you to come and make this point, but I just want to say good morning to Mr. Ben Boakye, who has joined us on the other line. Mr. Ben Boakye, Executive Director, Africa Center for Energy Policy, ASEP. Good morning, sir.
Hi, good morning.
Great. So please stay on the line with us, both of you. We'll just take the Joy Business Minutes which is a minute, and then we will come back. We'll deal with these issues. Stay with us.
Hello and welcome to the Joy Business Minute.
It's Daryl and carrying this morning's headlines.
The Bank of Ghana says it is in discussions with relevant regulatory authorities towards taking appropriate action against gold buying firm Men's Gold. In a public notice, the central bank reiterated that Men's Gold is not licensed to solicit investment or deposits.
Meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana is seeking clarity on the proposed merger between GN Sahel and Premier Bank for possible approval. The 3 banks last month formally tabled their request to the regulator.
The General Agricultural Workers Union has slammed government over moves to absorb 50% interest on loans to be acquired by beneficiaries of its One District, One Factory program. It describes the move as unrealistic.
And the Ghana Trade Fair Company has begun serving tenants on their property notices that their rents will not be renewed following the redevelopment of the facility. The construction will see the addition of new facilities.
It's about time.
Yes, definitely. Catch us again at 3:06.
You're welcome back from the Joy Business Minutes. Let's go straight to the phone lines. Let me start this time with the Executive Director of ASEP, Mr. Ben Boakye. Mr. Boakye, in the first place, you were opposed to this renegotiated Ameri deal, but was it really your expectation that it will end in the sacking of Mr. Boakye Jacko?
No, I mean, we were opposed to the deal. We thought the renegotiation didn't go well. And, we have been tracking the accountability system, for this country as far as the energy sector is concerned. And what we wanted to see was that at the parliamentary level, once it became evident to civil society, to parliament, that we didn't get a good deal, we could stop it, and that is what we're hoping for. And when I got a confirmation that the presidency or the cabinet had decided that the agreement wouldn't go on, I thought that was a point of relief, for all of us. Because, we have seen a lot of these deals go through Parliament hurriedly under the speed of light, and if we had, had this kind of process where that accountability system would check whether erroneously or deliberately, if we can see problems and one arm of government can't stop it, I mean, we would have a better country, and that's what we're hoping for. That once we all got to know that there were problems with the agreement, we needed to stop it, and that is what we were actually hoping for.
Well, in the spirit of there being a deterrent for carrying out deals like this, even though, like you said, it was not one arm of government checking the other, some would say this is a step in the right direction, deterring other ministers from bringing such deals to Parliament.
That would be difficult to say. I hope so. But what is important is that at every stage, we should see Parliament working. We should see the reason why there is that lengthy, accountability system where a minister writes a memo. The memo has to go to the cabinet. Cabinet approves it, and then it comes to Parliament, and Parliament also does its own scrutiny to approve it, to ensure that even if there's one error, be it from the minister's end, from cabinet's end, before it goes through that chain, we would have probably spotted whatever problems such an agreement would have, so that we can correct it as a country. And I think if we allow these accountability systems to work, it doesn't matter who is cooking what. It will be found out at what point. And I think that is what is important, for us to focus on, getting the institutions to work, getting all the structures to be independent of each other, and do the right thing that serves the interest of the country.
Now, to this case specifically, Mr. Kujo on the other line believes that more heads must roll. This does not end with Mr. Boakye Agyarko. It's not even possible that it could have ended with him. Do you agree with that sentiment that possibly some other persons should also be sanctioned?
Well, I mean, I don't have enough data. What we have is the memo that was sent to Parliament, and very little information that could help us do analysis. Where the president sits, if he gets the information and he thinks that ABCD person ought to go, I think for us, our interest is making sure that the deal doesn't happen. But if there are people who deliberately, wanted to deceive the system, then of course all of those people must be held accountable. But we don't have, the eyes to see who did what. What we are glad to see is that the agreement itself, which would have hurt the pockets of the ordinary person, it's not going to happen. But the responsibility is on the president. He's the one we have elected, and he has to take the decision. If he thinks that he wants somebody else to do his job for him, that is his decision. But we always want to see that some of these deals go through a transparent process. We'll have the opportunity to critique it, and the right decisions will be taken based on all the discussions that will go on.
Perhaps an investigation then will be necessary to be able to establish those who were involved in this from the very beginning. And what exactly went on?
I mean, it will be a relevant call if the president is minded to let the public know what exactly went wrong. I mean, now we're hearing that the minister has lost his job. Is it the case that he was the only one who could have done this? I mean, those are questions that will probably need answers, So if there is an investigation, that could also help clarify some of the problems that, other people may contemplate, to have happened. And it wouldn't be a bad call for us to know exactly what happened, who actually negotiated the deal, because I'm not sure that the minister did the numbers. I'm not sure he on his own would have done the numbers to see what the rate should be. There would have been technical people. I mean, when it comes to power, people have to look at the efficiency of the plan. People will have to, advise the minister on the very fundamentals of the plans that he's negotiating on. So who gave the advice? Who actually gave him the information based on which he wrote his memo? Who even wrote the memo? I mean, if you have problems even with the memo, who did the writing, who did the calculations? All these things will come out, and we know who is actually involved in all of these matters. So it wouldn't be out of place for us to have extra detail on how things went wrong. And that will also help, in the, exposing those who also give wrong advice, to the ministers.
In that case, looking at all these things that we have to uncover, I should say, should the president refer this case to the State Security Agency so that the investigation is thorough?
I mean, it depends on what evidence they have. Like I said, if they really want to probably do a preliminary investigation to see what could have gone wrong. If they believe that people deliberately deceive the minister or anybody along the chain, that becomes criminal, and that can also lead to further investigation by the police. But again, that information will be relevant for all of us to be guided, and all appointees to be guided, including the civil servants who are working in the ministries and departments, because they write reports, they advise the ministers, and, it could go wrong. But if we have processes that check them also, then everybody is minded what advice they are giving a minister at what point.
Let me go to Mr. Franklin Cudjoe on the other line. Mr. Cudjoe, you have also suggested that it will be possible to look at other persons who were involved in this. You've made the suggestion that perhaps those who were involved in giving executive approval. Which other persons do you think should be investigated or possibly sanctioned because of this deal?
Well, I think that what Ben has suggested, it's actually the way to go, an investigation. Of course, you also made the suggestion would unearth exactly what had happened. Let's not wait for Mr. Boakye Agyarko to spill the beans, because I suspect he would do that, and I suspect his spokesperson is actually already suggesting that he will start leaking emails. So we will have the full enchilada of what this had been. But I just want to make a quick addition. Look, the presidency needs to be working in tandem with the vice president's office. See, the vice president not long ago initiated a conversation on value for money. I was one of those who attended that conference. And everything else was discussed about the need to have some layer of, probably an additional layer, whose competences can be sought from the economic management team to at least also help vet these things. Because then it would have been useful. I mean, that's not to say that the work of ISEP, Imani, and the others are not necessary. But you see, some sort of assessor generals at the presidency may also be useful as well. They can say that if everything else has been discussed, input sought from every part of the country has been done, then we, these assessor generals, which, of course, as I said, can be imported from the economic management team, or if they don't have the expertise, can ask others to help. Then we'll look at these things so that the presidency doesn't get misled or embarrassed as it's been alleged. I think that will help significantly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a value for money analysis of this entire thing.
Yeah, of the entire thing. Look.
Okay.
Ben just let me just land on this thing because it's so close to me, and I'm beginning to believe that if that same level of duty of care had been attached to other deals, then we are happy that this has happened. And this is a man who wanted scrutiny. I think the point has to be made, and we need to also identify and acknowledge that as well. This guy didn't just jump and decided that willy-nilly he was going to have a deal made anyway, right? I think we need to acknowledge that.
Right.
Unlike others who did not.
Which
not
others?
Even a memo.
Which others?
Come on, the communication ministry. Did you hear about these conversations about value for money? It was actually nothing. It didn't even go to Parliament. Have you seen an Attorney General's view on the Kennedy GVG 178 million deal? None. That. Zero. Zilch. And they are still in office. What is going on?
You believe they should also be sacked?
Not just sacked, actually made to account for every penny that has been paid so far to the Kerry people. I mean, it's. I can't understand this. I really don't understand.
Right.
Somebody tried to have a conversation about a deal. He's not even signed a deal. Somebody decided to sign the deal on the blind side of the presidency, blind side of Ghanaians, and yet we are saying nothing, not a word.
Let me come to Mr. Boakye on the other line for a quick comment on this value for money analysis of Ameri. But let me not limit you to that. Mr. Boakye, what do you think should happen next with this whole Ameri agreement? What should Ghana do in your view?
No, I think we have watched this. And usually what we want to see is that you could stop some of these deals before they happen. We started before the contract was signed. We engaged Parliament. We sent write-ups. It didn't happen. It was signed. And once you sign such an agreement, that gives every right, to Ameri, what you need to do is to engage Ameri directly. And we have been cautioning this, that the persons or the company we have engaged or a contract with is the Ameri itself. And we have to engage them and probably appeal to them and say, hey, this is what we see the contract. Give the public some money, because ultimately if the public is not able to pay through the tariff, you're not also going to get your money.
Okay.
And, cash calls delayed and everything affects them also. So that you can come to that understanding and agree that some savings ought to be passed to the consumer. And I think that is the only way you can make headway. Going around it, negotiating with third parties, I don't think that is the right thing to do. Engage the people we have a contract with and appeal to them that we cannot pay this much and that they have to bring down the tariff. Beyond that, the contract gives them every right to take their $510 million.
Is that what you think we should do? We should go to Ameris directly and renegotiate with them so that the price goes down?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the option we have. If you have a contract with somebody and you think that you have a problem with it, you speak to the person. You engage Ameri directly. And like you read, Ameri is claiming that, they weren't part of this whole innovation renegotiation. How could that happen?
But what's our real bargaining power in all of this? We've signed the contract with them. What is the motivation for Ameri to sit with government again and negotiate for a lower amount?
They may not have motivation, but they're also a business entity. They probably will want to continue doing business. And if you want to continue doing business, you have to have good faith to negotiate and come to terms with, people who have the capacity to support your business interests, in a country. So, I mean, there are always room to negotiate.
Okay.
Contracts are always renegotiated. It depends on whether you have, you come to the table with, that clear mind and good faith to negotiate. And if you have that posture, you can definitely always have a way of renegotiating some of these agreements.
Right. Let me go back to Franklin Cudjoe for his final word before I take yours, Mr. Boakye. Franklin?
Well, Ben, you recall, and Daniel, you recall that prior to Mr. Jacko's appointment, I think, there was a committee that was set up by government on the back of the claims Ameri was overpriced. And they jumped on the plane, must have eaten food, done everything, paid for by Ameri. That's when I suspect we lost the entire plot. So for me, even though it was important and it's still important to engage Ameri, as Ben has suggested, because of goodwill and continuous business, I think we can make the correct claim that, look, this contract was unconscionable. Yes, you wanted to help us. We understand that. You partly helped and do so. But Charlie, 150 is too much. So you try and reduce the things more. We don't know the outcome of those committee meetings when they went to meet Ameri and all of that. We just didn't know. We don't know. So we should probably start from that angle as well. What did that committee actually finalize with Ameri? Did Ameri agree to do anything? Did they not? That would be helpful.
Great. Thank you very much, Franklin Cudjoe. Let me take your final word, Mr. Ben Boakye.
No, I think that is a summary of it. We need to know what happened. I mean, they started the negotiation, like we're told, but that was a committee set up to really look at the agreement and make recommendations. So I don't think that was a renegotiation committee. In fact, their report, as we speak, we don't know the final one. We had a leaked version of it. So we will need, some information on those processes. And again, get to the table with Ameri and get some savings for the public.
Thank you very much, Ben Boakye, for joining us. He's Executive Director of ACEP, Africa Center for Energy Policy. You also heard President of Imani Africa, Franklin Cudjoe. Now, the Deputy Minister for Communications, George Anda, has sent a response to a statement Mr. Franklin Cudjoe made. I'll just read that out to you. He says, Mr. Cudjoe is not telling the truth when he says the Kelmy GVG deal had no cabinet approval. He says he's not telling the truth when he says that deal had no AG opinion or advice. Again, he's not telling the truth when he says the Ministry of Finance was not involved. Indeed, if he reads and is humble enough to learn, he will know that the Kelmy GVG contracts did not have did not have to secure parliamentary approval. It did not have to secure parliamentary approval, right? And we also know that the finance minister has spoken to this Kelny GVG contract previously. But you're still listening to the Super Morning Show. Enjoy 99.7 FM. It's 18 minutes past 9. So many of your messages coming through. We want to read some of them, and there's more coming up on the show. Stay with us.
At Afrodan, we believe that many of